Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Lauren, and in today's video I have got some piping hot tea for you, a drama jam-packed story time including me, my mom, and my neighbors from hell. So before we get into it, remember to like, comment, and subscribe because I really appreciate it and it really helps out the channel. I'm currently at 612, but I want to get to 1,000 before the end of the year, so help me get there. But anyways, let's get into the story time. All right guys, so really quickly, if you see me looking down, as you can see, I got my phone in my hand. I have some notes written here on my phone. So yeah, if you see me looking down, I'm just reviewing my notes, making sure I stay on track. But anyways, let's get straight into this neighbor from hell story time. Basically, we got some new neighbors a little bit, like just shy of a year ago. I think July or around the end of July will make a year that they would have been here. These people moved in right before I went to London. Now, at the time of them moving in, there were no issues. We just noticed there were a lot of people. It looked like around 8 to 10 people. They had like 5 cars packed up in their driveway. We were like, oh wow, you know, this might be a family splitting the rent, but you know, they were quiet at the time. We never said anything to them. And in our neighborhood, it's super quiet. You know, people don't have full-blown conversations, but when we see each other, we say hi, bye, how are you doing? How are your kids doing? You know, how's your husband? How's your wife? Simple stuff like that, you know, being cordial. But that all changed when I came back from my trip to London last year during the summertime. More specifically, 2 weeks after, so right into September, I believe I came back, we started having issues with these people. And so around that time, my mom had purchased another trash can service because we had one at the time, but we started having buildups of trash because at the time, I think my brother was cooking a lot. They were like making new recipes and stuff. So we just had a whole bunch of extra trash. And so my mom was like, you know what, for a couple months, let's get like an extra trash service so that we can get rid of all this extra trash throughout the week. And so I was like, you know what, that is a good idea. So we get the new trash can. A week later, they drop off our trash can. The guy literally came on the garbage truck. He was like, hey, early in the morning, 5 o'clock, my mom went out to meet him. He's like, you misspelled. She's like, yep, that's me. Hi, how you doing? He's like, here's your trash can. Set it down right there. My mom actually brought out trash and they took the trash with them without even touching the new trash can. And so we were like, okay, cool, wonderful. So a couple days after that, I noticed something strange because the new trash can we bought was a different color from our original one that we still have and still had at the time. And so I had noticed that it wasn't in our yard and it wasn't in front of our house by the curb where the trash people take the trash. But I noticed our neighbors who had just moved in about a month at that time, I think if I'm thinking about it correctly, yeah, just about a month or so. At that time, they had never had a trash can at all. But I see a trash can in front of their house and I'm like, wait a minute, is that our trash can? Because when the guys dropped it off, my mom took a picture of the back of our serial number and everything. So I grabbed my mom's phone, take a look at the picture, and sure enough, they took our trash can, not just from in front of the curb, but at the time, because the guys had already taken the trash, it was in front of our house all the way down the driveway. So these people who are renting their house, by the way, they didn't buy this house. This house was purchased by a rental company who was renting this property to them. So these people walked across private property to go take our trash can. And not only did they take our trash can, they filled it to the brim. And not like, you know, with just loose bags, like it was compacted in there. Like if you had it upside down and took it out, it would be one solid block of trash. And I was like, okay, that's rude, but I told my mom was like, just take the trash can back. We put it back. The garbage company came, they tipped it over and went about their merry way and we took it back into our yard. Let me review my notes. And so a couple days later, as I'm at work, I hear someone walking in our yard and then I hear the rolling of wheels go across our yard and into our grass. And so come to find out, because not only are there a whole bunch of people, but I think there's a couple as well, and like 5 of the kids in there are their sons, because I don't see any daughters, just sons. And so come to find out, the woman that lives in the house told her son to go get the trash can. And so I tell my mom, I'm like, hey, he just took our trash can. And she's like, what do you mean he took our trash can? I'm like, he just walked across the yard, dragged the trash can back across the yard on our freshly cut grass because it was summertime. It was still September. It was hot outside. Drug it across our grass and put it in front of their driveway. And so my mom's like, okay, I'm gonna handle it. And keep in mind, she was at work during the time, so she had to take an unspecified break. And so she goes out there and it's this young guy. I think he's like he had to be like 16 or something. And my mom goes out there. She's like, excuse me, young man, why do you have my trash can? And so this little boy gonna go and talk about, this our trash can. You don't wanna have to deal with me. This our trash can. You need to back up, cause my mom was just asking him, like, why do you have our trash can? Why are you coming onto our property? And he gonna talk about my mom's coming up to him disrespectful. He gonna tell her, you being mad disrespectful, lady. You need to come up off me, or else you gonna have to deal with my daddy. You don't wanna have to deal with him. And I'm like, what? Because I'm still at work, but the way our houses are set up, I can hear them from outside of my window. So I'm like, oh, who's he talking to? And so by that time, my workday is over. So I log off, I jump out, and I'm like, wait a minute. And so I go out there, I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, this is my trash can, and she trying to have a problem. Is there an issue? And so I say, oh, okay. And so as this altercation is going down, one of our neighbors next door flags us over, and she's like, what's going on? And we're like, this little boy stole our trash can. He took it off of our property. And so she was like, oh, we've had issues with them. And we were like, what do you mean? Because keep in mind, this was the first time we've had issues with these people. Before then, we didn't hear nothing. And most of the time, my mom was either out of the house or in the house at work. And where she works in the house, she can't really hear what's going on outside. So she was not privy to what was going on. And I was out of the country. And so we're like, what do you mean? And so apparently these people because like I said, they had all these cars, like 5 cars at a time usually. Apparently what they were doing, they were parking directly in front of people's driveways and blocking people in with their cars in their driveway. And they had called the police on these people about twice. And so she was like, oh yeah, no, I've had issues with them. They keep parking in front of my driveway, and we've had this issue multiple times, and I've had to call the police. And we were like, oh, okay. And so we tried knocking on the door to, get our garbage packed back, not cause an issue. We didn't want to have to call the police. It's a trash can. Let's just get our stuff and go. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. It was not that simple, because when we went to knock on the door, nobody would answer the door. No one was coming to the door, but we could see people in there shuffling. And the little boy that had taken the trash can was just standing at the car all big and bad. And so we were like, okay, nobody's answering the door. So then let's just call the police. Let's get our trash can back and let's just call the police. And so I was like, we were literally at the door when I told my mom this. I was like, you know what, Mom, forget it. Stop knocking on this door. Let's just call the police. Let's just get them to come here and give us the permission to get our trash can back. Because the last thing you want someone to say is that you were on their rented property that they don't own, coming onto someone else's private property, talking about, oh, they stole our trash can. No, ma'am, we did not. So we called the police. The little boy goes inside his house, and I guess he must have alerted the mother, the lady that was in the house, because she's always there. But whenever anyone goes up there to knock on the door, you can see her moving back and forth, but she never answers. And so he must have went in there to warn her, oh, they're calling the police. Because as soon as the police troller came in, you better believe she answered that door. Better believe she answered that door. And so the police were like, hey, we got a complaint that you're stealing people's trash cans. And she's like, no, I didn't realize. I thought it was my trash can. And my mom is behind there like, no, you didn't. That was our trash can. It was in our yard for a week before you people packed it up and then took it afterwards. Because we were trying not to say anything, because it could have honestly been an honest mistake. And so the police turned to my mom and said, well, you can go back and take your trash can. And we sure as heck did, and put it back in our yard. And so after that, you want to know what I noticed about these people? They never got a trash can. Not once did these people ever have a trash can in their yard. And not only that, but a couple weeks after that incident, I noticed trash stacked up high in their backyard. It was unfounded how much trash they just had sitting in their backyard. And remember, it's September at this time. It's like 3 weeks into the September by now. It's still hot outside. The temperature's starting to drop, but it's still hot. And so the trash smells, it stinks, and we're just like, so not only did you try to steal our trash can, but now you just haven't bought a trash can, so either you owe somebody, you can't afford one, or you're just trying to get off scot-free and think, oh yeah, they won't notice we took the trash can. Let me check my notes. And so on top of this, the lady then comes to my mom and is like, oh my gosh, yeah, no, sorry. We're building a house and I didn't realize and I just sent him over there, and don't be mad at my son. Please don't call the police on us again. He's not in, she's trying to play it off like the boy's not in his right mind, because apparently from what she said, he's disabled and he's not physically able. Like she was telling us before then he was in a wheelchair and only learned to walk a couple months before the incident. And I was like, if I had known that, I would have just kicked him over and taken the trash can and not dealt with him and not have to deal with him. Because at that point, if I had known that, we wouldn't have even had to call the police. But anyways, that's just me letting my intrusive thoughts out because I was mad at the time. I'm still a bit mad about the situation because that was mad disrespectful, taking somebody else's trash can. Anyways, but yeah, she was trying to come up with this sob story about how please don't call the police on them again because they didn't realize and the little boy's not in his right mind. So we were just like, yeah, whatever, okay, yeah, go about your day. Like I said, there's just trash in their yard and it's all the time. About a month or two ago, they went into their backyard and they got a big U-Haul truck and they cleaned it all out of their backyard. I guess they picked up all the trash and cleaned it out. And so by that point, we were like, oh, okay, maybe they're starting to clean it out because hopefully we didn't have to see all this trash. Because one of the downsides of them having all that trash in their backyard was that it was blowing into everybody's neighborhood. Whenever there was a storm, whenever it was windy, it would blow into people's neighborhood. And then because there were dogs and like stray cats and raccoons and just like nightly, nocturnal animals in the neighborhood, they were starting to dig through the trash and then spread it all over the place. Like so many neighbors started complaining and tried to call our HOA, and those people never answered. They're kind of useless. And they were just like, these people are doing too much. Like we had gummy wrappers in our yard. We had old tomatoes. We had shopping bags. I remember our neighbor over there, she kept having like corn chip bags and stuff in her yard, and she had a dog locked up, and the dog would try to get out to go into their backyard because one side is fenced and one isn't. So the dog would try to escape to go dig up trash in their backyard. And then there's these two little dogs in our neighborhood that are just loose. They're like two little vagabonds, and they're always digging holes underneath the renter's fence to get under there to get into the trash, and they're always in those people's trash. And so I'm like, okay, I guess that house is the dump then. And so finally they had cleaned it up and we thought, okay, no more trash being blown everywhere, thank goodness. We thought that way too soon. We hoped too soon. By that point we thought, okay, we're in the clear now. Not even a week later, there was more trash. There was more trash. And then they cleaned up that trash, and then there was just more trash again. And I'm gonna show you guys some evidence in this next clip that you're about to watch of what their backyard currently looks like with all that trash that was torn into by animals.
Look, this is all the trash in their yard, and there was more the other day, and they must have gotten rid of it. We've been telling code enforcement, but just look at all of it. Ugh, disgusting. And then it's getting spread all over the place. We picked up the trash in our yard. I'm not going to show you the front of my house because I don't need y'all knowing where I live. But yeah, abysmal.
So by that point, we'd been dealing with these people and their trash for about a year now, on and off. And so as quickly as they would get rid of the trash, there'd just be more trash after that. I think they'd only gotten rid of it twice, and this is the longest stretch they've just had trash sitting back there and animals going back there and spreading it around. And so finally, the neighbor had started calling code enforcement and telling them and sending pictures like, these people are just spreading trash all over the neighborhood and it's back there and it stinks. Because one thing about summertime, when it rains, it'll get hot right after. So it's like boiling trash back there just open. So it stunk in our part of the neighborhood, and the whole cul-de-sac could smell it. Whether you were at the top or at the bottom right next to them, you could smell this trash. It was a travesty. And so after doing that, after we did that and we called code enforcement because the smell was so bad, because they couldn't see the trash when code enforcement came out to check, because they couldn't see the trash from the front yard, they just gave them like a little citation or a little ticket because their yard was also unruly too. So they were like, because they couldn't see it, it wasn't their issue. And so we were like, okay, fine, whatever. We let it go and we were like, whatever. Come to find out, we spoke to our neighbor again, the same neighbor we had been speaking to who had helped us call the police the first time to get our trash can back. The lady pulls my mom aside and she's like, hey, I have something to tell you. And so my mom's like, yeah, what's up? What's going on? What's happening? And she's like, allegedly, and this is just to cover me because I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, but allegedly, her husband had called around and looked into these people because he was starting to get sick of it because the trash, because again, they still have trash in that backyard, as you just saw from the clip. The trash is still building and they're still putting more trash out there. Apparently, he had looked into these people. He did a quick Google search and found out who their rental company was. And not only did he find out that these people are allegedly being evicted from that rental property, not only that, but none of the bills are in any of the people's names that live in the house. The bills are in other people's names. And on top of that, none of the people that actually even live in the house, he was like, he couldn't find concrete names for them to begin with. And so I was like, what kind of sketchy is this? And so from there, her husband called into the rental company that owned and purchased the house that they were renting and was asking about the property as if he was going to rent the house. He was like, hey, what's going on with this house? Is it available? I'm interested. And so he was like, the person on the phone said, oh no, we've currently got tenants in there, but they're going to be taken out of the property by the end of the month. Don't worry. And so when he hears that, he's like, well, you guys need to know. He completely gives up the facade from what his wife said. She's like, he gave up that facade so quick and said, well, you guys need to know they've got trash piled high, they're causing issues in the neighborhood, and someone needs to come take care of this. And so he's like, the people are like, oh, well, what do you mean trash piled high? And so they send the rental company pictures of the trash, and they're like, oh, okay, we're going to add this to their cleaning and maintenance bill, because apparently they had done some type of damage on the inside where for about a month they weren't even there, and we noticed that they weren't there, and there were like construction people in there like mending holes in the garage and taking in ladders on the inside to fix things, because I've been in that house before. Some really good friends of ours and neighbors of ours that used to own the house, when I was little, we used to play over at their house. And so when we would go in there, like they have high ceilings, there was a chandelier, everything. So they must have done some nasty stuff in there for them to have to take a ladder to fix whatever it was they were fixing. And so he was like, no, he informed the rental company of what they were doing in that backyard and how it stunk. And so they were like, okay, we're going to add that to their cleaning bill and cleaning fee. And come to find out, the people had kind of confirmed with him when he had called that, yeah, no, they hadn't paid any of their bills. They had just been squatting there basically. And so I was like, how did they have like running electricity and water? How did they have all those people there? How did they have small children there? Because one of the sons of the married couple that lived there had 2 little twin boys that were always in that house. I'm like, how did those children spend the weekend there, Saturday and Sunday, and their mom would pick them up on Monday? How did that work? Anyways, by then, we were just like, okay, because again, she told us this 2 weeks ago. Hopefully they'll be out by the end of the month. We won't have to deal with them and we won't have to look at them. And so we've had no further issues with these people except for one more. The son with the 2 kids, I'm pretty sure it's him. He goes out every morning, every early afternoon, the middle of the day, late into the evening, late at night, pitch black dark, to bounce around a basketball by himself. Like, and there's no hoop out there in our cul-de-sac, because like when you think of a cul-de-sac, it's like, you know, a U-shaped thing, and we live at the end of the U, so we're at the bottom curved part. So he's playing in the curved part just by himself, no hoop. He's just bouncing it around. And you know how basketball players put the ball between their legs? He's just doing that for 20 minutes straight and then running back and forth with this ball. But the thing is with that, he does that almost 12 hours a day. I don't know if this guy doesn't have a job, if he just has nothing to do, but he's always doing it. And he does it to the point where some of us that work from home in the neighborhood are like, why is he always out there with this basketball? Like, we can hear him. It's making loud noise and he's just running around. You can hear his shoes squeaking across the pavement. It's just like, this is too much. While we're still dealing with the trash silently, we're now dealing with a noisy guy with this basketball almost 10 to 12 hours a day because he's just out there bouncing this basketball. So that is my story of my neighbors from hell and how hopefully they will be gone by the end of July. Because when I tell you guys, I am tapped out. I am tapped out with these people. The neighbors that were there before them were so much better. They were so much better. They were so sweet. These people, they would literally, when they moved in, they were having a party that weekend and they came over to everybody's house and they're like, hey guys, we're having a party. If it gets too loud, feel free to come into the backyard and let us know. We'll lower the music down, but we're just having a little birthday party with our son. And we were like, yeah, no worries. At the time, I think I was out that day, and when I'd come back in, they were still having the party, but I wouldn't have known because their music was like loud in their backyard, but for us and the rest of the neighborhood, we couldn't hear it. And so the only time we could hear it is if like we were in our mom's room. But the thing was, they were playing some pretty good music and it was so good. Like my mom didn't really mind. She was jamming to it in her room and cleaning up at the time. So she didn't really mind, and nobody in the neighborhood had a complaint. So like that's how good they were. They would let us know if they were having some type of little event. I think while they were here, they had like 3 parties. I think they would have people over sometimes. And then like there was one guy that lived in the house because like it was another big family at this time before this annoying big family came in. And when they had come in, these lovable neighbors, you know, the guy, he would sit out there before he would have to go in and he would just listen to his music. And yeah, it was loud. But you know, when I went out there, I was like, hey, I'm so sorry to bother you, but like your music's just a little loud and I'm at work. Would you mind lowering it? He was like, oh my gosh, no worries. He was like, was it loud this whole time? And I was like, yeah, but you were playing some pretty good music, so I didn't mind. He was like, no, let me know if it's ever too loud and I'll lower it. And from there, it was smooth sailings. Never had to speak to them again. Never had any issues with them. When I would go out for my walk, they'd be like, oh, how are you doing, sweetheart? And I'd be like, oh, I'm good. How are you guys doing? And they'd be like, we are doing great. And then we just keep on about our day. There was never any issues. No disrespect, no nothing. We were even sad to see them go. I think they only ended up staying for about a year and they ended up moving, and we were sad to see them go. They were amazing neighbors. And now we're dealing with these people. So yeah. Hopefully they'll be gone soon. I've never had to deal with such unruly people in my life. I've never had a trash can stolen. And hopefully this all ends soon. But anyways, that is my little story time about my neighbors from hell. You guys let me know what you think down below. If you think I'm doing too much, if you think I'm if I'm over exaggerating, if you guys have had issues with unruly neighbors before, let me know in the comment box down below. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe because I really appreciate it and it really helps out my channel. I'm currently at 612, but yeah, bye guys.